Orville, episode 2. Right, just a quick review. I enjoyed this episode again. I enjoyed the first one, and there was a sort of a bit of a theme in this episode, or a lesson, kind of, for the human race to learn, or just to reflect on itself. And also, what this episode seems to do is sort of push forward the Lallana character, so we start to learn a bit more about her, and her being under the pressures of command, basically. So, in essence, if you haven't sort of seen the episode, very, very briefly, the captain and his second in command. Orville gets called out to a ship which seems to have the captain's parents on, and they've sort of broken down. They need a bit of help. They got attacked or something, so they go out there, and it turns out that that's a trap, and it's all a holographic ship, and there's just a little ship there, and then it sends them off somewhere else, and the crew don't have a clue, which means Lana becomes captain, or she already was sort of captain, but now she's captain proper. And there's quite a few good little sort of throwaway scenes throughout with her sort of doing the command bit, the bit where she throws up. That's kind of funny. Getting called Dora the Explorer by the helmsman. There's quite a few good bits, and it's good as well because we get to see, like I say, her character develop a bit, and she starts to sort of learn more of the responsibilities of command, and also the sense of, if you get given an order from the top authority, do you always take it, or do you do what the right thing would be? And in this case, obviously, is to go and rescue the captain. And this is the bit where it's sort of kind of slightly interesting from my perspective, and plays a bit more into the sort of maybe the old way, certainly with Federation stuff, that kind of sometimes there's a sort of a moral to the story, I suppose. And the moral to this story is about how human beings treat animals on Earth, and the whole zoo thing. Because what has happened is, in getting sort of abducted, the captain, Mercer, and Grayson, his number 2, have been teleported to what appears to be their old apartment when they used to live together. And that's kind of funny how they sort of start to sort of bond again a little bit, and then start to sort of fall apart again a little bit as a couple, because they start to see all the things that they disliked about each other, like Mercer with his drinking issue, and he's just having one beer in the morning, something about the Germans. And she says, oh, that's what you always say, and you're not German. And that was all quite good. But what we discover is actually they're basically in a zoo, and the species that have kidnapped them sort of look down on all other species as not to their level. So they treat them similar to how we treat animals on this planet. They're sort of our playthings to an extent. And that's quite a good sort of moral story that's in there. So with these two captured as sort of zoo creatures, and Lallana sort of going through a variety of sort of moral issues about how to command, what ends up happening obviously is that she decides to do what would be morally the right thing and go and rescue them, as opposed to what she was told to do, which is to return to some base and just let the whole thing slide, really. And they've gone, basically, which couldn't be acceptable, and the ship crew were not happy about it. So she heads to this planet where they believe the captain is, and she uses Isaac, who's obviously another kind of superior being who looks down on most of the other races, and this race that kidnapped them is more than happy to take on the sort of the robot race, which Isaac's part of, and let them come down. So he goes down there with Lallana as his pet, and basically they find the captain, and eventually go and speak to the administrator to try and get them out by saying that there's an illness there. And that scene's pretty good, and she just says, "Listen, Dick," or something like that, which was quite good when he finally listened to her. And then he decides to sort of, I think it was euthanasia the floor or something like that, which basically means they're going to kill everyone. And this was created quite a good scene where the captain and his second in command, or ex-wife, are basically about to get killed by these lasers going everywhere. And just before they're going to die, Seth MacFarlane comes out with this, "I'm going to the bathroom to read," and then the lasers stop. And Grayson says to him, "What was that?" And he's like, "I didn't know what else to say. It was Elvis Presley's last words." I thought that was pretty funny. It was a good little line in there. And in short, they get off the ship, but they get off this zoo. But the reason they get off this zoo is because Lana does a deal with the administrator to replace them with something else. And this bit also raised a laugh, because you then see the sort of cutscene to this alien race, and they're around this screen, and there's something kicking off with a whole load of human beings. And what you realise is it's Desperate Housewives of, is it Miami, I think, maybe? I'm not 100% sure. But basically, they swapped reality TV for releasing the captain and his second in command, which was quite a good little thing, because these guys will obviously love all of that, and I like that. So yeah, in terms of the sort of the basic moral that was in there, I say moral, the sort of just the sort of general story in terms of zoos and how we treat animals, and if you flip it round and make it human beings, suddenly it seems so much more terrible, doesn't it? And also the building of most of the characters, but certainly the Lallana character. I think throughout these next few episodes we'll probably sort of do that with each of the characters, so we get to know them a little bit better. I've already seen episode 3, so yeah, I already know that's kind of the case for Botas and his kid, and I'll do a review on that shortly. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. It wasn't anything that was absolutely outstanding, but it had a few laughs in it. All still looks really good. The pace of it worked really well. So again, I think I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10.